first speaker, Randall Lewis, is Executive Vice President of the Lewis Group of Companies, which was founded in Claremont 55 years ago and is now one of the nation's largest privately held real estate developers. Another local connection, very local, is that Randall received his bachelor's degree from Claremont McKenna College. So he's very comfortable here in the city and on the campus. We're delighted he could join us at the symposium because he is an industry leader in promoting healthy living and sustainable development initiatives. In his work, he places high value on building and community design to promote health and well-being. So it's, I think, going to be very interesting to hear from him. He is influential well beyond Claremont, despite his local roots. The Los Angeles Times named Randall to its list of the 100 most powerful people in Southern California in 2006, in large part because he promoted, quote, a set of locally based public health initiatives, unquote. So please welcome.
If I may, I'll sit down. Be more comfortable. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Thank you, Andy, for inviting me. It's very interesting. What I'll talk about today is sort of who we are and what we do, why we do it, how we became engaged as a company. I'll talk about some of the strategies we use to design healthy communities, engage the community. I'll talk about some things we do with public health, some things we do with healthy city initiatives, and then I'll end with some of the research we're involved in. I am not an academic. This will not be an academic speech. It'll be somewhat of a casual speech, as you can tell by the way I'm dressed. So, who we are, we're a locally based firm. We've been here 50-some years, and we're a real estate developer. We do apartments and shopping centers. If any of you live here, we did Victoria Gardens. I hope some of you have come here to go shopping. But what I'll be talking about today is our role in developing master plan communities. So in a master plan community, our job is to buy the piece of property, try to create a vision for the property, work through the entitlement process that in California or Nevada can take anywhere from 2 to 10 years. Then we put in infrastructure, we sell land to home builders, and if there's schools, parks, apartments, shopping centers, we build those ourselves. So we sort of do projects like in Irvine, where nothing as big as in Irvine, or like a Valencia, nothing as big as Irvine. Locally, we have something in Cucamonga called Terra Vista that'll have about 8,000 homes when it's done. We're working on something in Chino that'll have 7,000 homes when it's done. And we have a number of communities that are anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 or 4,000 homes. So that's the kind of work we do. We became involved in this a little more than 10 years ago, and it came from sort of a confluence of two things. The first, my parents, who both since passed away, always had issues with obesity and diabetes and lots of other health-related issues. So it was something that I was quite interested in, just saying, well, this is what's happening to them, this is what may happen to me and my family. What should we do about it? So it was sort of top of mind. And then a little more than 10 years ago, I began to see some research done by the Center for Disease Control and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And they were beginning to do some really great work on the role of the built environment in terms of how it can impact health. And so I reached out to them and formed some very interesting links. And one side note is for all of you that are researchers, figure out a way to get your research out, not just to other academics, but get it out to other people that aren't academics. I know it certainly influenced my work. I probably wouldn't be doing any of the stuff we do had I not read this stuff from Center for Disease Control or Robert Wood Johnson. So think large in terms of who you're trying to reach. So anyways, I thought, gosh, maybe we could make a difference. So let's try to do it in some of our planned communities and also in some of our apartments. And so our approach in trying to create healthier communities is to say, well, what are the things we can control? What are the things we might have influence on? And so we always first start with the plan itself. And we try to think, what should be the plan? Can we create safe routes to schools? Can we put the school in the center of the community? Can we try to say, how do we eliminate as many risks for pedestrians? Can we make trails as pedestrian seductive as possible? And we never hit all our goals. There's always things you can't overcome, but we pay a lot of attention to the plan. So that's the first thing, the physical plan. The second thing we get real involved in is some of the physical elements that we put into the plan. So where we have a choice, should we do entry monuments or put in a tennis court? Should we put in a great waterfall at the entry or put in a swimming pool? we always opt to say, let's invest in those things that promote physical fitness. And so typically our communities have community centers. Typically they have homeowners association or apartment groups that can afford to pay for these physical improvements. And I told Andy at breakfast, it's hard to go swimming if you don't have a swimming pool. It's hard to play basketball if you don't have a basketball court. So we try to invest in physical elements to encourage activity. A third thing we try to do is work very hard on programs and partnerships. And in doing that, we know we are not healthcare professionals. We know we can't do it all and we shouldn't do it all. So we do a lot of programs with the community, and we just try to think, who are the providers that can do a better job than we can? We do a lot with the YMCA. We might work with the Boys and Girls Clubs. We'll work certainly with the cities we're in. We try to find a lot of partners. And these can be setting up eating clubs and walking clubs and education sessions. But our communities, we spend a lot of effort on these partnerships and these programs, because we know even if we have a great plan, even if we have a gym, it still takes some programming to get people in, and it takes partnerships to get them in. The last thing we've tried to do, and this came later in the process, was the policy. And that's why I'm glad you've got the policy people involved here. Because we found if you can't get the policy in place at the jurisdictions, it's hard to make things happen. So we work pretty hard with the communities we're in to say, how can you make health a priority? What are the things from a policy that can be put into place so that if you have a mayor today who likes health, but there's a mayor tomorrow who doesn't like health, it doesn't disappear with that mayor. And so two good examples that you might want to look at if you haven't, both Rancho Cucamonga and the city of Chino in their general plans have made health a major component of their general plan. And I think Chino was one of the first in the state, not the only, but one of the first in the state to do it. And Rancho Cucamonga, whose general plan gets approved, I think next month, really took it up another level where it's a stated goal, just like economic development or safety. They say we're a community that's going to promote health. And the goal is so that we can always make that top of mind for the policymakers, but also hopefully that it can make sure that there's a stream of funding. So that policy implication is really, really important. So those are some of the things we do in trying to create our communities. We also have found that to do things, we need to engage more than the people who just live in our community, meaning the newest development, but the cities at large that we work in. And there have been two strategies that we've found useful. One is partnering with public health, and I didn't know what public health was till 6 or 7 years ago. I would guess if you went on the campus of Drucker and left your world and asked the financial engineering people, tell us what public health is, they wouldn't have a clue what public health is. But we have found public health is a great industry. It's something more people should know about. And we've tried to work very closely with the public health professionals. We've got very strong partnerships in San Bernardino County and Riverside County with the Department of Public Health, where we have people coming into our planning sessions to say, look at our plans to make sure they're the right kind, to try to get them to engage the school districts or the park and recreation people, to try to see are there opportunities for research. So that was strategy number one, engage the public health people. And we have found, I think because of work that all of you are doing, they're real interested in this. There's a program next month in Sacramento, and I'm up there on the same kind of topic, but the first section is by Dr. Richard Jackson, and I know you know him, and his program is, why should public health people care about real estate? And then the next hour is me, why should real estate developers care about public health? So whoever titled that I thought was very clever, and I'm looking forward to that. The second thing we try to do is form healthy city coalitions. And the ones that are going now, and we were involved in them, there were a lot of people that worked on them, so it wasn't just our company. But there's something called Healthy Chino, Healthy Ontario, Healthy Rancho Cucamonga, and Healthy Fontana. And these are among the best in the country. We had some people from CDC out a couple months ago, and we said we want to get better, we want to benchmark who else in the country is doing this that we can learn from. And they said, there's nobody in the country doing what these communities are doing. Then they said, well, there are some people in Marin County doing some really good stuff. And actually what I found from our studies, almost every city, almost every county is doing a lot. Nobody has put it together the right way. And certainly the 4 cities we're involved in haven't put it together all the way. But I think they're doing a better job than almost anybody else. There's also Healthy San Bernardino County. One of the challenges we've faced is just the last 3 years, anything we try to do with public funding has just died, and it's probably going to stay that way the next couple of years. So we have had a setback on that, but we've had really good luck with these city or county outreach efforts to say, create Healthy San Bernardino, California, Healthy Chino, etc. We're working right now in community gardens, and I'll just talk about that for a minute. Community gardens are sort of all the rage. It was on the front page of the LA Times this week, quoting Claremont people that you've worked with. I know you know those students. You had a great session up on Monday night on community gardens. So we did our first community garden 5 weeks ago in Rancho Cucamonga, and we've been astounded at the interest in it. Our first one has 50 plots. We're renting them out, I think, for $10 and $15 a month. I think 30 of them are taken care of. And we're trying to do it as an informal research tool. We're learning there's a whole world of organic people and non-organic people who don't like each other. And we've also learned that just the word community garden means different things to different people. That when we thought of a community garden, it was that Andy would say, I want to grow tomatoes, and Tom would say, I want to grow cabbage, and you live your own life. And that's what about half our people wanted, but half thought it was more a communal thing. Let's decide as a community what they're going to grow. And Andy, you have to grow tomatoes. You have to grow Brussels sprouts. So we're learning a lot on community gardens, but our internal team was so happy with it that we're planning 3 more community gardens. So if you have me back about a year from now, I'll be able to tell you a lot more on community gardens. But we're finding they're really a great way to engage people. And what we found from the early people involved in our community gardens, they're turning into ambassadors, where they're saying, we not only want to have our own plot, we want to adopt a school nearby in Cucamonga, we want to grow some excess and donate it to a food bank. And they even want to teach classes to the residents, if this is in an apartment community, that aren't community gardeners, to say, well, if you don't want to get outside and do it, grow basil on your kitchen sink or grow tomatoes outside on your patio. So we're doing a lot of fun experiments to see how this plays out. I'm pretty excited about it. Lastly, I'll talk about just some of the research that we've gotten involved in, and one Andy knows about. With USC, we've gotten involved in something in a project we're doing in Chino, where they got a grant. I think it's the National Cancer Institute. It's a longitudinal study, because in health you can't do anything in 1 year or 2 years. And it's going to study people that have moved into a community designed to promote health to see if over 5 years it makes a difference or not. So they're taking our population, they're taking 2 other populations. I think it's another group in Chino in the same city, and then another group, it's sort of a sprawl development a little bit down the way. And they're just going to measure physical activity, they're going to measure attitudes, they're going to try to, I'm not sure all the tools they're doing, but the goal is after 5 years to say, okay, you've done all this stuff, is it making a difference or not? One early result they found was the people that had moved into our community were reporting they were exercising more. Well, it makes sense, there was a brand new gym, they probably said, gosh, let's go do it. The other thing I found interesting, they were reporting they were eating a lot less fast food. Well, the reason is there's no McDonald's where we are, there's no Jack in the Box. Of course they're eating less fast food, they can't get any fast food. That'll put a conflict with our retail people when someone says, I want to do an In-N-Out hamburger store there. So, but it's interesting the research that's going on. We've had dialogue with Loma Linda. We've had some dialogue with Cal Poly. Andy, I saw Michael Wu, who runs the School of Architecture and Planning Sunday. He wants to meet with you. It's my fault, but to see if we can get Cal Poly engaged with Claremont on some research. So I think there will be some interesting research going on. One thing I'm interested in, why I'm so excited to be here today, is we would love to find someone to partner with, someone like a Cisco, to say, hey, do you want to do something in one of our projects? And I know there are projects now, there's one in Sacramento, I think with Intel that they're doing. We would love to find projects to partner on. I think our only requirement, we've learned this on the USC one, but really a hassle from the developer's point of view. We can just try to figure out how to make it as easy as possible. We can give you populations. And even with the Molina people, we have community centers and apartments. If you needed somewhere to try it in the ATM, if you needed somewhere to try some sort of community telemedicine, we could put it in a community center, so you only needed one that could serve a couple hundred people. So we would love to do future research on that. We look at our projects in 2 ways. We look at them as great real estate areas. We also say, how can they become teaching tools? We do a lot of demonstration gardens, a lot of demonstration programs. We also look at them as research tools, because each one, for me, is a tool to say, whatever we did right here, we know we can do better. So we're real interested in research so that we can get better as a company. I'd like to end just saying, I'm thrilled to be here to learn from people as smart as you. We have the same common goal, how to improve the lives of our communities and how to transform the lives of our communities. Thank you very much.